Hello friends far and wide. Welcome to Module 9, Planning for Transition and Change. It's an area that we underestimate. Change on the daily, moment by moment basis, but also the big change. Transition from moment to moment, but also big transitions in life. Super duper important last module before we wrap all this stuff up and put it all together. So, some things in this module to be on the lookout for. We want to learn about the three kinds of transitions that happen for all students, and we'll talk about those in a second. We want to learn the important steps of a good transition plan and when to start those, and then some specific strategies for effective transitioning. Passage from one stage to the next, or from one place to another. That's one way to look at transition. It's an inherent part of life. We all have to experience it. But it can be a time for growth on those big changes. And sometimes it can be harmful if we carry it out in a whimsical, unplanned, unstructured way. We tend to have a misconception that people with autism can't handle change. But in reality, people with autism have difficulty predicting change and preparing for it. But if they're provided with information, if we do our job as teachers and support folks and provide that information, they will be able to handle those changes. And if we can stay consistent and predictable and fair and kind in the way that we deliver that predictability information, it's going to be a better situation for everyone. So we know that students with autism, in terms of transition, struggle to predict events. They maybe have underdeveloped coping skills for change. Social information can be misinterpreted, and sometimes social information is what cues a change or a transition. Shifting attention can be tricky. So in transition and change, we have to shift from one thing to another. Safety. When you don't know what to expect, your feeling of safety and security decreases. Think about if you just dove into this class and there was no structure provided. It just said, here, learn about autism. It would be very, very upsetting to you. And hopefully we've provided enough structure in this course where you felt safe and can predict and what to expect and what happens next. They also might have difficulties expressing anxiety and stress, which can come with change. So it's our job to ensure that appropriate information is provided to our students in a timely manner. And we have to meet their learning styles. We have to create transition plans that meet the needs and learning styles of our students. We have to be thoughtful about their emotional, psychological, and physical well-being, and then also including them, and including the person with autism as well as those important people in their life in the process of planning for change and transition. So the three different types, you've got like daily or moment to moment, right? You've got yearly changes or transitions, and then you've got these periodic ones that you never know when they're going to happen. And those ones can be very tricky for all of us, but definitely for our friends with autism, those ones that are unpredictably and unpredictable. So you've got daily, yearly, and then those ones that just sort of jump in there and happen all throughout life. So one of the things that we're going to do is talk about how we transition students into new environments. You'll see in the materials a video that shows how we created a video model to introduce students to the new school. So they didn't even have to physically go the first time. They could watch a video that showed the layout of the building, who the teachers were, where the materials were, that kind of thing. So they could watch that at home on their own computer or on a DVD player before even going to the school. We're going to give you a bunch of other tips too on how to help students prepare for transitioning to a brand new environment. Talk about the important parts of a transition plan, meaning which staff are going to be involved, which peers need to be trained, how we're going to train the incoming staff, how we're going to gradually introduce the person with autism to the environment so we don't just slam them into that transition. We're going to prep them. This is a cool India story really quickly. We were working with a group of probably 20 people, mostly younger students with autism, some in their early teens, but we were going to all go as a group to this big temple called the Meenakshi Temple. And it was a crowded place, and we knew it was going to be kind of a chaotic environment right in the heart of a decent sized city. And what we did was prepare for that trip by role playing and pantomiming some of the activities that would happen at the temple once we got there. And everybody had a successful trip. And I think it was part of just, they knew what to expect, and we talked about it, and we provided some structure and some information, and then we went, and it was similar to what we had practiced. That's a case of structuring learning in a way ahead of time so that we can help increase predictability. What supports are we going to need to put in place for a transition plan? And what materials do we need to develop? Another handout in your module materials is going to be a blank transition plan that asks all those questions. So if you find yourself in a transition meeting for one of your students, feel free to use that guide to lead the team through decision-making process about every aspect of those transitions. All right. Plan early. Have a plan. Don't leave it up to the whimsy. For those of you in West Virginia and the United States system, you know how we usually transition to a new school in August or September. It is not out of the question to start planning for transition as early as January, and maybe even sooner. But we tend to do kind of a 6-month cycle where we start to prep for that transition way ahead of time so that we can get those supports in place. There's nothing worse than rushing a transition plan together. The person on the spectrum will know that we don't have a solid structure in place for them, and we need to. We need to meet early, so don't be afraid to do that. Start to talk, get people involved. Let's go take a look really quickly. I've mentioned a few things that are in your module, but I've got a blank transition plan guide that should help you plan meetings that are focused on transition. There's a handout called the Visual Bridge, which is going to show you how one way you can structure communication between home and school each day, because that's a big transition. Transitioning from home to school and then back home. We know a lot of students that takes a lot of energy for them every day just to manage those two transitions. So this visual bridge is a way to make that transition a little bit more visual and give communication options for the person when they're in those environments. A couple articles that talk about how to plan for big high school transitions or other transitions, and then also an article on how to help students transition between tasks. You've got 2 videos in here. One is, like I said, that video model that shows how we created a video to expose kids to the school before even having to go there. And another one is how to create a visual binder that can help students transition between different classes, and then how to organize their information for a long, busy day at school. All right. Next time I see you, it'll be Module 10, and we will be finishing our course together. So I will see you then. And good luck. Think about transition and how you can help your students plan for change.